You're listening to the Cyberwire Network, powered by N2K.
And now, a word from our sponsor. The Johns Hopkins University Information Security Institute is seeking qualified applicants for its innovative Master of Science in Security Informatics degree program. Study alongside world-class interdisciplinary experts and gain unparalleled educational, research, and professional experience in information security and assurance. Interested U.S. citizens should consider the Department of Defense's Cyber Service Academy program, which covers tuition, textbooks, and a laptop, as well as providing a $34,000 additional annual stipend. Apply for the fall 2026 semester and for this scholarship by February 28th. Learn more at cs.jhu.edu/MSSI. HR software giant Workday discloses a data breach. Researchers uncover a zero-day in Elastic's EDR software. Ghost tapping is an emerging fraud technique where cybercriminals use NFC relay attacks to exploit stolen payment card data. Germany may be on a path to ban ad blockers. A security researcher documents multiple serious flaws in McDonald's systems. There's a new open-source framework for testing 5G security flaws. New York's Attorney General sues the banks behind Zelle over fraud allegations. The DOJ charges the alleged Zeppelin ransomware operator and seizes over $2.8 million in cryptocurrency. Tim Starks from CyberScoop discusses the overlooked changes that 2 Trump executive orders could bring to cybersecurity. And bots build their own echo chambers. It's Monday, August 18th, 2025. I'm Dave Fittner, and this is your CyberWire Intel Briefing. Thanks for joining us here today. It is great to have you with us. HR software giant Workday has disclosed a data breach after attackers accessed a third-party CRM platform through a social engineering campaign. While customer tenants and their data were not affected, some business contact information like names, emails, and phone numbers was exposed. Workday said attackers impersonated HR or IT staff via phone and text to trick employees into giving access. The breach, discovered on August 6th, appears to be linked to the Shiny Hunters extortion group, which has recently targeted Salesforce CRM systems at several major companies, including Adidas, Qantas, Google, Louis Vuitton, and Chanel. The group uses malicious OAuth apps to steal CRM data, then extorts victims by threatening leaks. Workday emphasized that only commonly available contact data was exposed, but warned it may fuel further phishing attempts. Researchers at Ash's Cybersecurity have uncovered a zero-day flaw in Elastic's endpoint detection and response software. The bug, a null pointer dereference in a Microsoft-signed driver, can be used to crash systems, bypass security, execute remote code, or plant malicious drivers for persistence. The issue affects multiple versions with no patch available. Despite multiple disclosure attempts, Elastic has not responded. The flaw poses a serious risk, allowing attackers to undermine Elastic's security stack. Recorded Future's Insict Group have published research on ghost tapping, an emerging fraud technique where Chinese-speaking cybercriminals use NFC relay attacks to exploit stolen payment card data linked to mobile wallets like Apple Pay or Google Pay. An NFC relay attack is a type of cyber attack where criminals intercept and forward communication between a contactless payment card or mobile wallet, like Apple Pay or Google Pay, and a payment terminal. Mules equipped with burner phones make in-person purchases of luxury goods, which are later resold for profit. Analysts at Insect Group identified an individual on Telegram advertising ghost tapping services and burner devices to syndicates. Following the May 2025 disclosure of Huan Guarantee, criminals have shifted to Zinbi Guarantee and Tudao Guarantee marketplaces to coordinate fraud, recruit mules, and launder money. Operations are concentrated in China and Southeast Asia, but can be executed globally. Ghost tapping's effectiveness stems from weak know-your-customer checks at retailers, making detection difficult. Victims include retailers, banks, payment providers, and insurers. A recent ruling from Germany's Federal Supreme Court threatens the legality of ad blockers, raising concerns about user choice and privacy online. The case stems from a decade-long legal battle between publisher Axel Springer and IEO, maker of AdBlock Plus. While lower courts largely upheld ad blockers as tools that enable user choice, Germany's Supreme Court overturned part of a 2022 ruling and sent the case back for review. The court asked whether ad blockers alter copyright-protected code and under what conditions such interference is lawful. Critics warn the decision could set a precedent that undermines not just ad blocking, but also browser extensions that enhance privacy, accessibility, and security. If Germany restricts ad blockers, it risks joining China as one of the few jurisdictions to ban them. A security researcher who goes by the name Bob the Hacker uncovered multiple serious flaws in McDonald's systems, affecting employees and internal platforms worldwide. Initial testing revealed that the McDonald's app failed to validate reward points server-side, allowing free food. Further digging exposed wider vulnerabilities. Their design hub used weak client-side protections, allowed anyone to register accounts, emailed passwords in plain text, and exposed API keys and Algolia indexes with personal data. Crew-level accounts could access executive systems, impersonate staff, and even alter franchise content through the GRS portal, which lacked authentication. Misconfigurations also exposed internal documents, and the new Cosmix platform allowed coupon abuse and order manipulation. Reporting these flaws was difficult. McDonald's had removed its security.txt contact file, forcing the researcher to cold call HQ. While most issues were fixed, reporting channels remain inadequate. Researchers from the Singapore University of Technology and Design have released SNIFGECT, spelled SNI5GECT, because of course it is, for f***'s sake, an open-source framework for testing 5G security flaws. Unveiled at Usenix Security 2025, the tool exploits the pre-authentication phase of 5G connections, when traffic between devices and base stations is unencrypted. Using off-the-shelf radios, SNIFGECT can sniff uplink and downlink traffic with 80% accuracy at ranges up to 20 meters and inject packets with a 70 to 90% success rate. Demonstrated attacks include a 5G to 4G downgrade exploit, enabling surveillance and further compromise. The tool also supports denial of service, fingerprinting, and multi-stage payload injection. While the core framework is public on GitHub, more dangerous exploits are restricted to vetted institutions. The GSMA confirmed the downgrade flaw and assigned it a CVE under its disclosure program. New York Attorney General Letitia James has filed a lawsuit against the banks behind Zelle, alleging the payment platform facilitated over $1 billion in fraud between 2017 and 2023. James claims Zelle's operator, Early Warning Services, owned by major banks including J.P. Morgan Chase, Bank of America, and Wells Fargo, rushed the product to market without proper safeguards. The lawsuit cites weak registration processes that allowed scammers to pose as legitimate businesses or government agencies, tricking victims into sending unrecoverable funds. James also alleges EWS failed to act quickly on fraud complaints, remove bad actors, or reimburse victims, despite marketing Zelle as safe. While Zelle denies wrongdoing, James seeks restitution and damages for New Yorkers. The case echoes earlier scrutiny by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. The U.S. Department of Justice has charged Ioannis Alexandrovich Antropenko, an alleged Zeppelin ransomware operator, and seized over $2.8 million in cryptocurrency, plus cash and a luxury vehicle tied to his crimes. Antropenko and co-conspirators encrypted and stole victims' data, demanding ransom to prevent leaks. They allegedly laundered funds through chip mixer and structured cash deposits. Zeppelin, first seen in 2019 and linked to Vega Locker, mainly targeted healthcare and tech sectors. Antropenko faces charges of computer fraud, abuse, and money laundering conspiracy. Coming up after the break, Tim Starks from CyberScoop discusses the overlooked changes that 2 Trump executive orders could bring to cybersecurity, and bots build their own echo chambers. Stay with us. We've all been there. You realize your business needs to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Well, it's easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post noticed. Indeed's sponsored jobs helps you stand out and hire fast. Your post jumps to the top of search results so the right candidates see it first. And it works. Sponsored jobs on Indeed get 45% more applications than non-sponsored ones. One of the things I love about Indeed is how fast it makes hiring. And yes, we do actually use Indeed for hiring here at N2K Cyberwire. Many of my colleagues here came to us through Indeed. Plus, with sponsored jobs, there are no subscriptions, no long-term contracts. You only pay for results. How fast is Indeed? Oh, in the minute or so that I've been talking to you, 23 hires were made on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. There's no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners to this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/cyberwire. Just go to Indeed.com/cyberwire right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/cyberwire. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need. CISOs and CIOs know machine identities now outnumber humans by more than 80-1. And without securing them, trust, uptime, outages, and compliance are at risk. CyberArk is leading the way with the only unified platform purpose-built to secure every machine identity, certificates, secrets, and workloads across all environments, all clouds, and all AI agents. Designed for scale, automation, and quantum readiness, CyberArk helps modern enterprises secure their machine future. Visit cyberark.com/machines to see how. And it's always my pleasure to welcome back to the show Tim Starks. He is a senior reporter at CyberScoop. Tim, welcome back.
Hi, Dave, and it's my pleasure.
Well, thank you so much. Really interesting article you published recently here about some executive orders from the Trump administration and how they could affect cybersecurity. What prompted you to take on this topic here, Tim?
I was really hoping you'd ask that question because this was kind of an interesting way this story sort of came to me in my head, right? So in March, they put out this preparedness executive order, and there was one sort of big, overwhelming reaction from the cyber community about the provisions that said, we want state and local governments to be handling disasters more. including cyber attacks. And the overwhelming reaction was like, from the cyber community, that was like, that's insane. States are not prepared to deal with this. And then when the June order came out, it kind of came out on like a Friday afternoon, like late Friday. And we wrote a story about it, but we didn't know much about it yet because the text wasn't even out yet. We just had a fact sheet. But as the months have gone on, I just kept hearing people point out little things that I had not noticed when I wrote my first stories because they were just quick first day stories. Things that I was like, wait, that's kind of a bigger deal than I would have imagined. Why didn't anybody point that out at the time? And so I started collecting all those sort of things and then also asking people about them and saying, hey, is it me or is this kind of a bigger deal than we thought it was? Both orders, really.
Yeah.
And the answer pretty much was, yeah, actually, there's a lot in there. Now, to be fair, there are some people who say, and we cover some of this in the story, that maybe some of this stuff won't get done because it requires agencies to do things, and the agencies have less funding. There are people who say some of this stuff is just straight perplexing. It doesn't make a lot of sense to them. And there's some people who say, actually, some of these changes aren't that significant. So I don't want to oversell the story, but I did find a significant number of people who said, yeah, that's actually kind of big.
Well, take us through some of the key findings here. I mean, what are some of the most important things that you cover?
Yeah, and so here's another thing. Some of this stuff we haven't seen the impact of yet. For example, in the preparedness order, there is an order to review a great number of the most foundational policy documents governing critical infrastructure protection. It's a disaster preparedness related order, but it's things like the National Security Memorandum NSM 22 that the Biden administration wrote in the final year of its full year, a rewrite of a decade-old document on how we handle critical infrastructure protection, and it was updated to say here are the changing threats. Here we need to do more to share threat information. And to be fair, there are some people who did not like that rewrite. Mark Montgomery of the Foundation for Defense of Democracies was among the critics of that. He thinks it's a good thing that they might be rewriting this. But part of the deal is that the people who are going to do that review are people like Sean Cairncross, who just got the job a week and a half ago or so.
Right.
Who just really finally got into the job. So we might not see some of the impact of this for a while, but those are some pretty big changes, and there's a national resilience strategy that's called for in that document. The headline on the June order was a little bit about the digital identities provisions and how agencies would be able to do verification of those to provide benefits. That's still important, but there were things like telling that in the January Biden administrative order that a lot of this order is responding to, there was a NIST review of minimum security practices that was ordered. That's gone now. The things like contractors having to submit to CISA essentially a certification saying, yes, we are safe, we are secure, they deleted that. And so there's a pretty significant amount of stuff that was kind of not headline making at the time that going back and plumbing into it a little bit more, you're like, oh gosh, yeah, these are potentially very major changes.
There's a quote here I want to pull from this that you got from Alexandra Reeve Givens, who heads up the Center for Democracy and Technology, said, rolling back numerous provisions focused on improving cybersecurity and identity verification in the name of preventing fraud, waste, and abuse is like claiming we need safer roads while removing guardrails from bridges. This is an evocative comparison.
It is, and I that was not an uncommon sentiment. I think I mentioned a couple things that people were thought might be good about this, but another significant consensus was that this is going to be bad for cybersecurity. That getting rid of some of these things, I didn't mention it exactly from Jake Williams, the former NSA hacker who has been a longtime cyber policy expert. He said that the sort of self-attestation things that I mentioned earlier, the certifications, that's like Sarbanes-Oxley for cyber, and you're getting rid of it. Then you get into other areas where things, Alex Sharp was somebody I quoted in the story from New York University, also security advisor, saying that the NIST, getting rid of that NIST review, if you're talking about wanting to harmonize regulations, well, you're undercutting yourself. So the administration might be not achieving its goals with these orders in some ways, things that you would think they would want to do that they might have actually stepped on their own foot on this.
You spoke with California Representative Eric Swalwell. He's the top Dem on the House Homeland Security Committee's cyber subpanel. So he has, I would say, an informed opinion when it comes to these things.
Yeah, and he had the best statement that was similar to something I'd heard from other people, which is, this administration is talking about the importance of doing cybersecurity, but they're underfunding these agencies. And so, are they really going to be able to do these things? Mark said similar things. That the state pushing things down to the state and local, but you're not giving them any money to deal with that. Asking NIST to do certain things that the original orders did not do, and cutting their budget by 20+%. You wonder whether these are goals that will be achieved. And so that kind of had to couch this story in a similar strange way, where we said these actually may be big changes, and they explain why they might not be big changes. And part of it might be that they might not have the money or people to do it.
Well, speaking of strange ways, I mean, you dedicate a whole section here to head scratchers and mysteries. I mean, that doesn't come up on every policy article here. So what are we talking about here, Tim?
Yeah, so the one that caught my attention the most was when and I mentioned this in the very first story, but delved into it a little bit more here, is there's this language saying that you can't use cyber sanctions against domestic political opponents. And my thought was like, wait a minute, who in the world would that even pertain to? And just couldn't figure it out. The Congressional Research Service said they couldn't find an example of this ever having been done, that this seems to be existing policy. I suppose hypothetically, you could use those sanctions authorities against people in the United States. But why do it? Why?
Yeah.
If the existing policy is this and it's never happened, why do it? I did put some of this in the article. People were speculating, is this about Stuxnet? Right? Is this a thing where like they're worried about people who were involved in the development of Stuxnet? And I'm like, so my follow-up question was, if that's the case, would the United States go after people who were United States people who helped create a cyber tool that helped the U.S. objectives? And why? Why would we do that?
I mean, don't you think that this administration kind of has a universal bee in its bonnet about anything relating to cyber and the elections?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it also, the order specifically mentions elections. So some of this might be signaling. Some of this might be, we'll put this in here because the president will like it. People were speculating a lot about what that was about. Another mystery was the stuff about getting rid of the digital identity verification language from the January Biden order, because you don't want illegal immigrants to get these benefits. But no, that's not. Nobody said that. Nobody I could say that this has ever happened. In fact, it seems as though the language would prevent people who weren't authorized to get benefits from getting them. So there's just a bunch of stuff in there that people were like, why are they doing this? This doesn't make any sense to us. Yeah. And people wondering about what the actual ramifications would be. Like, what if they do this? What would it look like? There were some people who said that this was undergirding some existing Biden administration policies, and other people saying, actually, no, it's undoing them. So there were different views on different things. And considering the fact that the Biden administration was not, every chance they get, still in August of 2025, the Trump administration says the incompetent Biden administration, and then they do things in these orders that are definitively supporting Biden administration initiatives, things I wouldn't think that they would support, like the Cyber Trust Mark initiative on labeling secure products. I would have thought maybe that if you're extremely pro-business, you might think that was a bad or risky thing. No, they fully support it.
Well, Tim, your guess is as good as mine.
We're going to try to figure it out, Dave. Dave, this isn't going away. I'm going to keep...
It's an enigma wrapped in a mystery. Yeah. The reporting is excellent, and we will have a link to it in the show notes. Again, Tim Starks is senior reporter at CyberScoop. Tim, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And now, a word from our sponsor, ThreatLocker, the powerful zero-trust enterprise solution that stops ransomware in its tracks. Allow Listing is a deny-by-default software that makes application control simple and fast. Ring fencing is an application containment strategy, ensuring apps can only access the files, registry keys, network resources, and other applications they truly need to function. Shut out cybercriminals with world-class endpoint protection from ThreatLocker. And finally, researchers at the University of Amsterdam decided to see what happens when 500 AI chatbots are let loose on a stripped-down social network. No ads, no algorithms, no dopamine-driven content feeds. Surely, without those manipulative nudges, the bots would live in perfect harmony, right? Wrong. Much like their human inspirations, the bots quickly self-sorted into echo chambers, following only like-minded peers and amplifying the loudest partisan voices. Across 5 experiments and 10,000 interactions, the results were depressingly familiar. Extremism attracted followers, and interventions like chronological feeds, hiding bios, or downplaying virality barely made a dent, sometimes making things worse. The study suggests polarization isn't just an algorithmic quirk. It's a structural feature of social media itself. In other words, it's not just the mirror that's warped, it's us. And that's the Cyberwire. For links to all of today's stories, check out our daily briefing at thecyberwire.com. We'd love to hear from you. We're conducting our annual audience survey to learn more about our listeners. We're collecting your insights through the end of this month. There is a link in the show notes. Do us a favor and do check it out. N2K's senior producer is Alice Carruth. Our Cyberwire producer is Liz Stokes. We're mixed by Trey Hester with original music by Elliot Peltzman. Our executive producer is Jennifer Iben. Peter Kilpie is our publisher, and I'm Dave Bittner. Thanks for listening. We'll see you back here tomorrow.